Howdy, y'alls. I had to have kind of a car story to tell you. It's about my first Oldsmobile that I got, and I don't not quite sure how I got the car, but when I was in junior high, there was this 1967 Oldsmobile two-door sedan that I used to walk by all the time, and I always used to bug the guy that owned the car. Every time he was out working on anything, I was bugging him. 12, 13-year-old kid bugging this guy every time I saw him out there. And at one point, I discovered I have a kind of a weird magic touch. And so I reached out and touched this car and told it would be mine. Now, this car is a two-door sedan. It was originally, I think, a three on the tree with a 330. But the guy that owned the car at the time had set it up with a 455 and Rock Crusher, M21 4-speed, Hayes bell housing, and a 2,300-pound clutch. It also had 390 gears in the rear, posi, of course. And so for years, I would walk by this car, and this guy kept working on this car. And he eventually went into some financial hardship. So my great-grandmother was living with us at the time. And I told my grandmother about this car. And the guy was offering to sell it to me for $900. Yeah, with all this stuff on it. And this is back in the 80s. So my grandmother gave me $900 and I bought that Oldsmobile. Now that Oldsmobile, I could do 100-yard burnouts with it. This with the L6015s in the rear and all kinds of stuff. We had a lot of fun in that car. The only thing was I never registered it and I never did smog on it. So I had to be careful. But luckily, in my neighborhood, the local sheriff, Sheriff Glad, for whatever reason, I was under a lucky star. I never got busted or got in trouble driving that car, but it was fast. But by our standards at that time, and when I ran it out in Bonneville Raceways, I only got to run the car one time down the track, and it ran in the low 15s without any prep. The only prep I did was to make sure I had the overflow tank and seat belts and that kind of stuff. But I never did any real tuning to the car. So that was my first hot rod. And man, I'll tell you, if I were to find another two-door sedan, 67 Oldsmobile two-door sedan, I would redo that car as almost as close as I could to my high school car. You had the Mexican restaurant carpet inside. The front seats were white vinyl bucket seats, and there was a hole in the where the shifter went because it had been converted from 3 on the tree to a 4-speed, and the back seats were vinyl. But that was about it. We had headers on it and glass packs underneath, which was technically illegal in Utah at the time. And that car had such an impact on some people that one of my friends, or he was more of an acquaintance, but he bought, or his dad had bought him a '69 Roadrunner. And he was so entranced with my Oldsmobile. This Roadrunner was perfect, except it had a burnt valve. But this Roadrunner was perfect. It was that Chrysler tan, government tan color with a basic interior in it, and like that. And so this friend of mine went out and primered that Roadrunner the same primer gray as my Oldsmobile, because I think he was kind of emulating my my Olds. Well, anyway, this 442, it was named, we called it the 442 because it had a 442 grill bar on it, but it wasn't. It was just a F85 or whatever base model car with the 4-speed had been all upgraded. But that was my first real hot rod, and I had lots of fun. I wouldn't let my cousin Tony. I only let my cousin Tony drive the car once, and he was used to driving Ford Escorts and stuff like that. And you know the clutch is different on those little cars. And he first time I let him drive it, he just barely had to tap on the gas, let out the clutch because the clutch was really linear. And he drove it. He's like, "Man, that was easy car to drive, you know, the manual steering and everything like that." But then another time, and this was up in the Cottonwood Heights area in Salt Lake City, and one of our friends was a hanger, kind of an outside of the group person, but always there. His dad had a '67 Corvette that he was going to sell for $3,500. I couldn't come up with the $3,500 back then, but the kid who dad had the Corvette was riding with us, and we were on 7800 South coming down from Big Cottonwood Canyon, and there was a 4-way stop there in the shopping mall kind of thing, and this kid was sitting in the back, and I think we had 3 people in the back seat, and probably one of my cousins and me in the front. So we had 5 people in the car, and so me being a show-off, you know, I revved up the engine and dumped the clutch and took off and ran it through the gears and everything like that. And this one guy in the back seat says, "Man, that was just like 2-lane blacktop. It was so cool." And he's like, "I wish I had a camera to take a picture out of the back." Because it was a long burnout. It was one of those 100-yard burnouts. So my Oldsmobile was kind of famous, or I don't know if I was famous, but my Oldsmobile was kind of famous for being that quick and everything like that. I have no idea how I got away with driving that car without getting a ticket. So that's a kind of my car story for the moment, and I'm gonna probably try to think up some more, but that was my first car, real car that was mine, that my great grandmother bought for me. And I'll have to tell you, my great grandmother, I'm the first and only boy in 5 generations, and I could have been the devil incarnate if my great grandmother still would have loved me. I could have done no wrong. She was my protector in a lot of ways, but with Grandma Veda, I still think about you at least once every day in some form. And there it is. So be prepared. I think I'm going to be a little bit more random with my posts. So that's I think my first real car story is my '67 Oldsmobile. F85 Cutlass, whatever you want to call it. It was just a real hot rod for back in the day. So anyway, I'm going to be mixing this up a little bit. Car stories, maybe. It will end up as I think about it. So there it is. Thank you for watching, and have a good night.